Hey everyone, Adam here, So Is Your Podcast. I have another comic review here today. This is a really cool one. Valiant's biggest release of the year is a new series called Armorclads, and we got a chance to check out the first issue and actually a sneak peek of the second issue, which wasn't even fully completed in the version we saw, which was really cool to kind of get that peek behind the curtain. But anyway, let's dive into Armorclads number 1, which is on sale March 23rd. It's 32 pages full color, and it's going to be $3.99 in the US anyway. So you really can't beat that. I mean, under $4 for 32 full pages. And these are Armorclads follows a group of humans, but they're in not a parallel universe, but another solar system. It's kind of a dystopian type story mixing with the big mech stories that, I mean, I know I love as a comic fan. It doesn't go as far as, say, like a Gundam Wing. It actually kind of reminded me a little bit of, like, the military aspect of Avatar taking the giant blue cat people out of it. So there's Armorclads, which are the war suits that are piloted by, there's a human in the suit, they're piloted by people. And they have kind of lesser suits known as Ironclads. And the Ironclads are basically run by slave labor. I mean, they tell them that they're paying off their debt to society, this and that. But with a lot of these dystopian stories, it becomes pretty clear that even to the people doing the job, there probably is no buying your way out. There's always another way that they kind of keep them in. And I didn't get the feeling that their government or situation was out and out evil. But the first issue doesn't delve too deep into the politics of it all. It focuses more on kind of getting to know the characters and the action, which makes total sense for a first issue. The Ironclads are being run by the Armorclads. They do mining work and, manual labor, things like that. And they do have the suits to get the work done quicker, but the suits are not all loaded with weapons. One of the Ironclads is kind of left to die, and it becomes more of an accounting problem than a human problem. Like, the life wasn't worth what the cost of the suit was, things along those lines. And because of that, the peers of the Ironclad, the character who dies in the suit, they kind of decided that enough is enough, and they don't want to be pieces of property anymore. That opens up into the story becoming more of an action story as these lesser suits are trying to fight their way out of a hostile area, and they're not going to war with the Armorclads at this point. They're going to war with more the environment and the wild species, which again reminded me of, had a little hints of Avatar in there without it being that movie or a replication of that. This one act of defiance, or liberation, depending on which side you're on, by the Ironclads, kind of opens up the wider world and gives us a peek at their wider solar system, their wider universe, as to how things really operate, and that, of course, there's more at play here. So the story, I would say, was really intriguing. When I first started reading it, the aspects that I thought were well done, which we'll get to the art and the layout and all those things in a bit, I liked all those aspects of it, and I thought, okay, this is a cool, another mech kind of sci-fi story, but nothing really stood out as different in the beginning. As the story progressed, where it became more of kind of a social commentary, but not picking sides in our current world, just telling their own story with some depth, it got a lot more interesting, and then to add the mystery on top of that made it more interesting still. The fact that it has this caste system and it's this lived-in universe I really liked. It did a good amount of world building without knocking you over the head with the exposition, which I always appreciate in any medium. And the dialogue, again, in the beginning started out, oh, you've seen action movies before, that's where you learn to write dialogue, and kind of became more nuanced to each individual character, which made them stand out with a lot of personality, despite the fact that when you look at them from the outside, they're wearing uniform suits of armor. So the story, I believe, is there. I'm intrigued, and it helped a lot because, as I mentioned, we also got a sneak peek at the unfinished second issue of Armorclads, which was all inked. It had the line work, had the layouts, and it had the lettering. Whether the lettering is the absolute final draft or not, I'm unsure on. But what was there opened up that world and got into machine, so to speak, not the actual suits of armor, but the machine of their worlds and their governments and how that runs and what the bigger mystery is going to be. So I would say definitely check out Armorclads for the cool action and the cool mech of it all, and probably give it the first 3 to see if the overall wider story is going to be what you're looking for in a comic series. The story was written by J.J. O'Connor and Brian Buccellato. As I just talked about, I think the writing's there. I think it's one of those things that by like the 4th and 5th issue, those little things that seemed like aspects we'd seen before and seems like dialogue we heard before are going to be fully fleshed out into their own thing. Because with any story, with any creative endeavor, the first thing right out the gate is not necessarily the final product. Artists grow and writers grow, and you could already see it in the first 1.5 issues I got to check out. So I can only imagine by the time you get to issue 4, 5, 6, however many they plan, it's just going to keep building and getting more solid. Now, the art was a combination, art by Manuel Garcia, inks by Raül Fernández, colors by Rex Lokus, and letters by Dave Sharpe. Also an alternate cover by Bagus Hutomo, and there were variant covers by Marco Mastrazzo and Jeremy Roberts. There's even a special pre-order cover by Kael Ngu. And they went even further. There's a distressed metal, and there's only 250 of these available, by Livio Ramondelli and designed by Travis Escarfulleri. That's a lot of creative people behind this book, but when you look at the art, it is gorgeous. I will share as many images in this video as we're allowed to in the press kit. I will not take a single page that they don't want us to share, because I don't want to give the story away, and I don't want to give away all the wow factors, the art that's even more heightened in the book, but the art is gorgeous from front to back. There's nothing that appeared wonky. They weren't trying to hide the fact that they can't draw feet or something weird like that, I'm sure every comic book artist struggles with 1 or 2 things that just they feel as their weak spot, whether other people see that or not. I didn't see any weakness in the artwork. I didn't see any weaknesses in the layouts, in the lettering, the sound effects. The story could have sucked, and I would still say to check this book out because the art is so good. It's a style of its own while being familiar in the comic book world, but it's like, if you remember the first time you saw Kingdom Come, if you're into DC superheroes, and how it just stood out from everything else you're looking at. I've been reading a lot of Valiant comics this year already, and late last year, and Armorclads stands out. And just to get this out of the way as a little caveat, if you didn't get it from the first 5 minutes of this video, the story does not suck, so even better for us. I'd like to thank the fine folks at Valiant and DMG Entertainment for sharing this with us, for letting us read the first copy, for giving us a sneak peek at the second copy, and for letting us share it with you, our audience, who hopefully are comic book fans and are hopefully checking out Armorclads, because as far as cool mech robot stories goes, this is one of the better ones that I've seen lately. Armorclads #1 is on sale March 23rd. As I mentioned at the top of the video, 32 full color pages. It's given a T+ rating if you are looking at it for your kid or something. I don't think there was anything so grotesque or offensive or vulgar that a younger reader couldn't get it, but they might not really care about the subtlety of the characters and things like that, and something that's more, maybe in the way of like Gundam, where the robots really are the star and it's not about the people using the robots. That might be more up their alley. Teen+ rating, take it or leave it for whatever it is if you're buying for a younger reader. And as I mentioned, all of this is only $3.99, which I was shocked at that price point, because as far as I know, the average price of a comic is $5, and most of the ones from the big two are not coming out at 32 full color pages. Please remember to like and subscribe. We got a lot more interviews, new movie coverage, comic coverage, unboxings, all the stuff you love coming your way. You're not going to want to miss out. Also, make sure you listen to So Wizard Podcast every single week, wherever you get your podcasts. SoWizardPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, videos, merchandise, and more. We love hearing feedback, so drop a note in the comments, leave us something on social media. All the accounts will be found after the show and in the show notes. And on a more personal note, a good friend and I have an ongoing comedy comic series. It's called Social Studies. It doesn't involve giant mech suits of armor, and it doesn't take place in another solar system, but it's a slice-of-life comedy comic about the high school experience. We try to capture the universal aspects of it. We try to capture the friendship aspects of it and the figuring out who you are. We write it like a sitcom. We jam it through the prism of the 90s cartoons that we grew up on, we love, and inspired us. We have 8 issues available now. 9's coming out this week. 10 is in the hopper, going to the publisher or going to the printer as soon as possible. We're also available on Comixology and now Kindle Unlimited. We're working on Comixology Unlimited. The whole system's a little screwy, but your best spot for that is socialstudiescomic.com. Thanks.